because they're taking this mood disorder medication to make them happier and to make them more stable. So all they do is change the way they narcissist towards people.
Yeah.
And they do it with a smile on their face.
Hey guys, welcome to what I believe will probably be the last episode of 2024 for the Army of Great Men. Pretty exciting. This week, we're going to talk about narcissistic abuse. It's to me, the whole concept of the narcissist is something that is quite fascinating and quite misunderstood. It's one of those things that, it's a buzzword that people are just throwing around like crazy these days. And you can describe almost anybody as a narcissist if you look at just a few little traits. But today we're going to find out what narcissists really are, how to deal with them, and what to do if you're in a narcissistic relationship. We've got my new friend Dave Morgan on with us today, who specializes in this field, and it's going to be a great episode. Let's go. Dave, thanks for joining me, man. This is going to be an interesting talk. I just know it.
It is definitely going to be interesting. Adam, thank you so much for inviting me. What you're doing with Army of Great Men is just a fantastic opportunity for everyone to listen exactly how to live your life the right way.
That's the goal, man. Yeah, it's it's been a real honor to to chat with some extraordinary people and share some great messages. And this thing's growing slowly but surely, but brick by brick, we're going to build an army. So it's going to be fun.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So Dave, as I said in the opener, actually I'll share my story with, how I sort of opened my eyes to the world of the narcissist. I got accused a while ago. Someone told me that I was a narcissist, and then I found out they were telling other people that I was a narcissist, and I was like, well, shit. I said, I don't want to be a narcissist. So the first thing I did, I wrote to my life coach. I was like, hey, we got to talk. And so we hopped on a call and said, Adam, what's up? And I said, am I a narcissist? And if I am, can I change that? Can we work on that? And she just burst out laughing. She's like, first off, no, you're not a narcissist. But second, even if I didn't know you, the fact that you just said, can we change that, would have already proved that you're not a narcissist.
100%. Okay. I agree.
Great. So then, being the curious person that I am, I started to dig into what a narcissist is. And it's a bit of a hard thing. And I know you're going to talk about that today, but it's a bit of a hard thing because there's so many different types of narcissist. And so, you could describe, one version of a narcissist and it would have very little application to, your narcissistic abuser. And then you find another one, it's like, oh my God, they're describing
that's
them
spot
to
on.
a T, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think that's part of why this is so confusing for people. But it definitely made me aware of how common this is. They're everywhere. And the other thing about a narcissist, and I don't like it when you say narcissistic abuser or victim of narcissistic abuse, things like that, because I don't like ever feeling like a victim. But there's certain things that they do to you that I've talked to people, some of the strongest humans I've ever met, who are they get absolutely buckled by a narcissist. They can take down the strongest men and women you could ever find. And in fact, it's almost part of the goal. They want to target the strong ones, right? So
that's exactly it. That's exactly who they go after. They don't go after weak people,
right?
They go after people with a strong sense of self.
Yeah.
That carry themselves in a certain way, and they need to emulate that way that the quote unquote normal person carries themselves.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So and they seek you out like that.
Right. Yeah. And that's the really interesting thing. Everybody I've talked to who's experienced this, I look at them and I'm like, well, how did they get you? You're so strong, but they do. And it's crazy how they do it. So, Dave, when I started the Army of Great Men, I did it because I went through a bunch of shit and I realized how lucky I was to have great people in my life. And so I said, I want to start helping people, who are going through some tough times.
Absolutely.
And I know that's your story too.
Yes.
Let's get into your backstory. Why did you start, your narcissistic or your narcissist victim coaching business. How's it gone? But let's first go into your personal experience, because I think that's going to make everything you say more relevant and real. So let's get into your story.
Yes, absolutely. So here's my story. First, to go off of what you said in the beginning. So with that person calling you a narcissist.
Yeah.
Okay. That is the number one thing that a narcissist does is calls their quote unquote victim a narcissist.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just get that out of the way before we even start.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
So for myself, I was married to a narcissist for 16 years, 5,844 days. I lived with a narcissist that was an active narcissist from the day that I met her. I just didn't know what a narcissist was. Okay. Back in 1999, 2000, you never heard the term. And like you said a few minutes ago, it's widely overused. Okay. But for those of us who have been through it, we know what it is. Okay. So in all of my years that I was married, I just thought that's how marriages go. Okay. Your wife is a little bit mean sometimes. Maybe the husband responds a little bit differently sometimes. But overall, it gets smoothed out and goes away.
Sure. Yeah.
But the thing is, it never went away.
Right.
Okay. And it wasn't.
And it never gets better.
It never gets better. No. It never goes away. Yeah. If they think you've caught on to them, they just change the way they narcissist. They morph into a different narcissistic species, if you want to call it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I didn't really realize.
I'm reading my mail right now, Dave. I'm already.
I didn't really realize I was with a narcissist until probably about year 10. Okay. But let me get up to year 10. Okay. There was lies from the first hour of our conversation when we first met. Okay. That I didn't know were lies until I found out in year 10. And I'm not kidding. It was the first hour of our conversation that I was lied to. Okay. Now, within those 16 years of being married, there were 32 moves to 32 different homes in 4 different states. So you're thinking for yourself, my wife just wants better for the family. My wife just wants to get a better job. My wife just wants me to get a better job. That's not what it was. Okay? My wife had to move. She had to run. She had to leave things behind so people didn't catch up with her. Okay? Right. All along the way, that's blamed on me. Okay?
Okay.
I'm the one that needed a fresh start. I'm the one that lost something along the way. I'm the one that needed to get away from certain people and start over. Wow. And it was just a chaotic mess all along the way. There was financial abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse that, again, I just chalked up as every marriage has their rough spots. Okay? And at year 10, I did a lot of research. I talked to a lot of people. I sat down with people closest to her and was told, it's time to tell you the truth because you're a great man.
Right. So they could see it, but you can't because you're in it.
I'm in it. I had no idea. I lost so many people, so many loved ones, so many friends. I willingly, some of them walked away from because she told me they were bad for me.
Yeah, of course.
They weren't bad for me.
Right.
Okay. They weren't bad for me. They saw for her for who she was.
Yeah.
She didn't want to put up with that.
Yeah. So what they do is like you'll meet someone good and you'll think they're good, and then you'll get home and it's I don't trust that person. I don't like that person. Right. And just start planting the seeds because they can already see that they see who they are.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And when a narcissist is exposed in any way, shape, or form, what do they have to do? They have to get themselves out of the situation.
Yeah. Because it's all about self-preservation, right? Yeah.
Hence the 32 moves in 16 years.
Wow. That's crazy.
Okay. It wasn't just me and her. Okay. I'm not going to drag the whole family into it, but there was 4 kids involved.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. It wasn't just me and her doing this.
Yeah.
And that's what hurt the most.
Yeah. Jeez. Wow. And then, so, when your marriage ended, was that sort of like the veil was lifted and you could see it all? Like what was your experience like when you finally realized, like, oh shit, like because it is sort of like the proverbial frog in the pot of boiling water, right? Like you don't realize how bad it is because you're, it's just.
Absolutely. 100%. So this is what happened. We were going to marriage therapy, the 2 of us. And then we're going to family therapy with 2 of us and 2 of our kids.
Yeah.
The marriage therapist that we had saw right through her. I wasn't ready to see through her yet.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So our marriage therapist actually pulled me aside and said, "Why don't you come tomorrow by yourself?"
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Okay."
Yeah.
And that's when my journey started.
Really? And so your therapist said, "Hey,
my therapist sat me down and said, your wife at the time is a classic narcissist.
Wow.
This is what I see. This is what I hear. This is what I watch. You're one of the most animated people that I've ever met.
Yeah.
And when you are next to her, you're like a 12-year-old child.
Right. Right.
I know what you do for work, and I know you're a leader, and I know how hard you work. When I see you next to your wife, you cower.
Yeah.
You don't speak up.
Right.
If the words aren't said from her mouth, they're not true. That's the way she looks at life."
Wow. Well,
so from that day on,
therapist had the courage to tell you that.
Absolutely. He was a fantastic man, and he began my journey for me.
Right.
And I wouldn't be sitting here today as a coach if it wasn't for what he told me throughout that year that I worked with him.
Yeah. Wow. It's amazing, man. And so how long has it been since you've been out of that marriage?
I have been out of marriage for almost 9 years.
Okay. So you're through the other side.
I filed for divorce. I left in 2015 after 7 discards. Okay. When you get discarded from a narcissist and you don't know what a narcissist is, again, you just think, well, every marriage has their problems.
Right.
Okay. So I would come home from work and places would be rented for me to go live in without my knowledge.
What?
Telling me that, you really need to go work on yourself. You need to be better for this family. You need to be better for me. So why don't you take some time for yourself and reset? That had nothing to do with it in any way, shape, or form. She just needed the control, and she was losing some power somehow. Okay. Either I was standing up for myself, I was speaking up for more, I was speaking up for the kids more. She didn't like that dynamic, so I got pushed to the side. Okay. So after 7 discards in 7 different places, when I sat down with my therapist and he explained everything to me, he just told me, he goes, "This is how your life needs to go from here on out. This is what you need to look for. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to thrive."
Right.
So I immediately went home and moved out a final time for me without being discarded.
Right.
Okay. And when I sat her down and said, "I'm going to go," sat my kids down, said, "I'm going to go. This is why. This is going to be better." Okay. Stone cold. She walked out of the room, started doing stuff in the bedroom. Kids weren't even really reactive. Okay. Because they were told all along how bad I was. So in their eyes, daddy leaving the good thing. Okay. So that's how my journey began. I rented my own place. I moved out. My daughter started coming to see me. Had a wonderful relationship from there on out with her, because I was able to be a dad in a certain way. See, when you're with a narcissist, you can't be yourself. So it's hard for you to move forward to be you. Okay. So that's where my whole journey began.
Wow. It's amazing. I want to get into sort of the undeniable top signs that, that person's a narcissist.
Absolutely.
I know that every type of narcissist has one thing in common. We're going to go into the other ones later, but every type of narcissist has one thing in common, and that is the lying, right? Like they're pathological.
Absolutely.
And with the lying, there's like another level of it. It's called gaslighting. And for anybody who hasn't experienced gaslighting, I'm going to give you a version of gaslighting that everybody has experienced and makes you mad. But then when it happens directly to you, it's like 100 times worse. So like I'm in Canada, we got this asshole running our country right now named Justin Trudeau, and he is the master gaslighter, right? Like he will look at the camera and he will say something that is obviously a lie. Like he knows he's lying, and you know he's lying, and he knows that you know that he's lying. Everybody knows that he's lying. But when somebody calls him out on it, he'll like look at them like, "What are you talking about?" and belittle them and shame them, and like make it so that the person who asked the question about the lie is way worse than the person telling the lie. Yeah. And it is like, Dave, and I know you've experienced it. it is the biggest mind fuck you can have. It will take the person who's, as strong as an ox mentally, and make them question everything, even though they know it's all a lie. And you put your head on the pillow and you're just like, am I going insane? Like what is happening right now? So I know the lies are right at the top of the list. What advice do you give people who are dealing with that aspect or the gaslighting aspect? Like, because there are some techniques to deal with it, right? What are the techniques that you recommend to people when somebody's gaslighting them?
One of the biggest techniques I recommend for gaslighting, and actually I roll this into every aspect of narcissistic abuse: gaslighting, love bombing, discarding, everything. You name it, I roll this into it.
Yeah.
Is being able to put it back on your abuser.
Right.
Put it back on the narcissist. Okay. So if the narcissist is saying to you and putting you down and manipulating you, making you feel less than and worthless over something that you know isn't true, okay, then you really just need to look at them. Okay. Not out of fear. Not raise your voice. Just talk to them in a straight tone and say to them, well, if you really feel that way, why don't you listen to why I said what I said? And just put it back on them. I wouldn't have reacted the way I reacted if you didn't say the things you said with such conviction. And if you didn't say the things you said with such conviction, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And if this conversation wasn't happening, both of us might be having a good day. But here we are.
Right.
So you literally have to get in the mind of a narcissist.
Yeah. Okay. Which is also a mind fuck.
It's a mind fuck, all in all. Okay. Yeah. But one of the biggest parts of figuring out, number one, if you're with a narcissist, number two, how to get away from them. It takes a lot of courage to get away from a narcissist. Okay. Oh, and like we mentioned a few times, we're very strong people that we're with them. Okay. And they know that. Okay. That's why I lasted 16 years.
Right.
Okay. It was because of my strength.
Sure.
Okay. Now, when you're being gaslit, when you're being love bombed, when you're being manipulated, when you're going through the motions and the gamut of narcissistic abuse, you literally have to change who you are. Okay? You can't look at yourself as a victim, like you mentioned before. You can't look at yourself as someone being abused. You have to look at yourself in a way that you used to look at yourself before you met the narcissist, and then add another level to that. Okay. So when people come to me and like, I want to heal, I want to get back to who I was. No, you don't. Because if you get back to who you were, you're susceptible to it again.
Yeah, you're gonna land right there again. Exactly.
You're gonna lie right there again. Yeah. Right. So what you have to do is you have to peel back the layers and realize why the gaslighting happened, why the manipulation happened, why the love bombing happened, what you were at that time that accepted that behavior.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you can realize who you were at that time to accept it, you can realize where it started happening. And when we realize where it started happening, we can figure out how to remove it, release it, and dissect it. Okay. Now, I think it'll pop it a little bit because it's just, there's so much to talk about. But when you're looking at someone in regards to gaslighting, the best thing to do is just look at them and throw it back at them. Okay.
Yeah.
As calmly and relaxed as possible.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make them even madder.
Yeah, because if you react, that's what they want, right? They want you.
That's exactly what they want. Yeah. To this day, that's what they want, okay? Yeah. And that's never going to change, okay?
Right.
You mentioned earlier, when we first started the podcast, I think even before we started that, narcissists will say that you're the narcissist, okay?
Yeah.
They have to spread that.
Oh, yeah. Okay? Tell the world.
They don't want to be exposed.
Of course.
Okay? And one of the best ways to expose a narcissist, it's keep your mouth shut.
Right. Just let them dig their own grave.
Let them dig their own grave. It's got to happen eventually. It might take years, okay? But when you attach everything with narcissism, with the smear campaign and all that lovely stuff that really tears the good person apart, okay, it makes them look awful in people's eyes and bad to the community that they're in. When you look at things like that, that's not a reflection on you. And unfortunately, too many people take it way too personally and feel like they have to stand up for themselves when if people are going to believe you, they're in your corner. If they're not, let them go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You'll find out who really knows you pretty quick. Right. Yeah. Tell me some of the other, like if people are trying to figure out they're with a narcissist, and there's like gobs and gobs of information out there, but what are some of, because like there's a number of different types of narcissists. What are some of the other traits in addition to the lying and the gaslighting? What are some of the other traits that all narcissists have in common? What are some of the most common ones?
So the number one trait is being very egocentric. Okay. But not in a good way, not in a strong leader type of way. Okay. Right. You look at a strong leader of the world, you look at a strong athlete of the world, just a strong role model. Okay. They carry themselves in a certain way. It's a cocky confidence.
Sure.
Okay. That's good. Yeah. We want our leaders and our husbands or our wives to maybe have that cocky confidence
swagger,
where they know who they are.
Yep.
Okay. A narcissist has an ego that won't even fit through most people's doors.
Right.
Okay. And it's not a, what's that?
It's a fragile ego too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's not a cocky confidence. It's I'm better than you.
Right.
Okay.
And arrogant.
So because I'm better than you, you're going to listen to everything I say.
Right.
And because I'm better than you, I am going to rip apart everything that you say. Okay. So that's number one, is your ego. Number two is really the way they carry themselves. They can do no wrong. Okay. It doesn't matter the way we look at them as people. Okay. They look at themselves a certain way. And that way is always going to be number one in their eyes. That's why they always defend themselves. Okay. So that's another big way to tell if you're with a narcissist or not. Okay. If you're out in public, okay, they're belittling you, they're putting you down, they're yelling at you in the whole entire car ride there. They open that door to the car, nicest people in the world.
Yep.
Open the doors for people going to the church, going to the restaurant.
Yeah.
Saying I'm sorry, saying thank you, telling beautiful stories, laughing, joking, putting their hand on your back to make it look like you guys have the ideal situation. And then getting back in the car and tearing you apart like you're not even there. Okay? That's a big sign to tell you with a narcissist. Narcissists manipulate more than the average person. Okay? Everyone manipulates a little bit somehow, even if they don't want to. But a narcissist does it on purpose. They do it for things to be in their favor. Okay? So that's another big way for someone to realize if you're with a narcissist or not. A narcissist will never let somebody get a word in edgewise when they're having a conversation. They need to rule the conversation.
Right.
Because what they're saying is more important than what you have to answer.
Right.
Okay? So that's another big way to tell if you're with a narcissist.
So, those things that you're talking about, and there's another type of narcissist called a covert narcissist.
Right.
But the covert wouldn't necessarily be described, at least to the naked eye, in any of the ways that you just described.
No.
They're typically very shy, introverted, quiet. They'll kind of shrink in those conversations. And then behind closed doors, the real Wicked Witch of the West comes out. Yeah. And those can be, those are the really confusing ones, right? Because like when people think about, like even just like in Greek mythology, the narcissist who's obsessed with the reflection of his own face in the mirror and, all that stuff, like what you described, any version of that word that we had, growing up, like that's what we would think, right? Somebody who's basically obsessed with themselves. And that's why I think a lot of people can, get confused as to who the narcissist is, right? I mean, like I'll be the first to admit it. I mean, I've got this podcast. I love talking to people. I love the sound of my own voice. Like I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why when it was, I was accused of it, like I was like, oh shit, like, maybe this is real. But the covert is pretty sneaky with it and very devious. And it's a bit of a different way to go. One of the other real common traits with a narcissist, and I think this is maybe most specific to the covert narcissist, is they ruin special occasions.
Yes, on purpose.
On purpose, yeah. And the bigger the occasion, the more they're upset that it's not about them or whatever, and they'll just sabotage the whole thing. Like, go to Christmas with a covert narcissist, and like you'll know it pretty quick.
So here's a little story. And by me telling the story, you're going to tell that that my ex-wife was a covert narcissist.
Okay.
Now I don't talk about my story a lot. Okay. So, but I coach from the experiences of me being it with narcissists. Okay, everything I know is from me being with one. Okay, I never opened a book to read about what a narcissist was, and everything I teach in the healing process is how I healed myself. Okay, so my experience is firsthand. Okay, it's not learned from a book. Okay, so I was with my ex-wife for 16 years. I celebrated one birthday. That was before we got married. I was told every birthday that I had enough, that I asked for enough, and every day to me was considered special. So I didn't need a special day.
Sorry for laughing, but it's just like
we have to laugh, right?
I mean, right?
I look back at it then when I'm in it and I'm crushed, but I look back at it now and all I can do is laugh. Okay. Yeah. She just didn't want that. She didn't want that extra day to be mine. She didn't want me to have candles, cake, people coming over, shouting my name. Okay. Right. Her birthday was celebrated for a week.
Sure. Yeah.
A week.
Sure.
Every day.
Yeah.
And if one of those days was forgotten, you were in narcissistic purgatory.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But I couldn't even get an hour.
Yeah. Talk about narcissistic purgatory, because that's a real thing. Maybe describe what that's like to be a narcissistic purgatory, and then how you get out of it. Like, how does that go?
So how do you get out of it, and what is it like? So when you're, in my eyes, this is what I look at it a little bit differently, I think, than a lot of people. But to me, narcissistic purgatory is that waiting period of you wanting to leave, but not knowing how to get the hell away from them. Okay, so you're sitting there thinking, like, I have all the evidence, I have all the proof, I built the courage up, I'm ready to walk out the door, but I know they're going to come home and twist what I'm saying and manipulate me. So I'm just sitting here, not knowing where to go with this information. Okay, I'm not knowing how to move my life forward, so I'm just going to continue getting beat down. Okay, so you're just looking at the outside world like, I want to get to you, but in your brain and in your heart, you're saying, I'm going to stay right here. Okay, and it really is just a living hell, because you're half of who you are. Okay, by this point, and however long you've been with them, you're half. I was a shadow of a man during the whole entire marriage. How you get out of that narcissistic purgatory is kind of cliche, but it really works. You got to build the courage to leave. You got to build the courage to open your mouth. You have to build the courage to look at that partner and say, this isn't working for me anymore. You're abusing me. You're making me feel selfless, worthless, less than, and unloved. I'm tired of walking on eggshells. I'm tired of it being about you. I'm going to rebuild my life. And that's when you get, no one's ever going to love you like me. No one's ever going to treat you like me. You're going to go out there and get destroyed. I built you. You're only as strong as this because of me. Okay, then they do make you question yourself again. So that's why that narcissistic purgatory lasts so long.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for you to get to the point where you can feel like you can do it on your own.
Yeah. And the only good part about going through that is, when you're stuck inside, when it's rainy and shitty outside for a week straight and it's just pouring cats and dogs, that sunshine feels extra good when that rain breaks. And everybody I've ever talked to who's gone through this, like they go through hell, but the level of, and it doesn't end as soon as you leave, right? Like you've got to walk through hell for a while and go through some shit, and you got to heal. And like, that'll be the hardest. It'll be the hardest thing you ever do. It really will. Like it's harder than, the death of I shouldn't say the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's pretty fucking hard. But the reward when you get through it, when that sunshine comes out, you will, you'll never, like you said, well, go back to who you were before. And what a mistake that is, because you've got to get bulletproof, and you've got to know, how to make sure you don't fall back into that same thing. Right. But once you get your strength and you figure it out, you will learn to love in ways that you're not broken forever. Right. And that's the ultimate revenge the ultimate revenge is to just go and be happy and successful. Like, don't try to tear them down because you can't. There's nothing you can do. Dave, you've taken your experiences with all of this and you've sort of parlayed them into a new career where you're actually coaching people. So, tell me about that bit. Like, what are you doing for people? What does that program look like? How long do you typically work with someone? And what's the experience like for the people who work with you as a coach through
Definitely. Great questions. When I first started this business, I had no idea what it was going to turn into.
Yeah.
Okay. I just knew during COVID, I needed to make a shift. Okay. And that was the best time for me to actually do something I wanted to do for me. Okay. Because I started building my coaching business in 2017, not knowing I started building it. Okay. Just by doing stuff for myself outside of my 9-to-5 job or 4 a.m. till 4 p.m. job. I just started doing stuff on my own. And next thing you know, I had notebooks full of stuff. Okay. So all along, I've been putting together these programs and writing this healing journey for people and putting together these pathways to help people unlock things in themselves. I had no idea I was doing it.
Oh man, I love that.
So in 2020, I decided I was on Facebook one day, just scrolling through. I found a life coaching class to take. It was a year. It was a year mastermind. I'm like, you know what? I'll do it. So I did it, got certified, and best decision I ever made in my life.
Good for you.
Okay. And I sat there thinking to myself, I'm like, when I first started, I was your typical life coach, helping you with your mindset, talking about clarity, all that wonderful things. I made one video on narcissistic abuse on TikTok. One video. 984,000 views later. Okay. Over 8,000 comments, engaged with a ton. I've landed 17 clients from that one video alone.
Yeah.
I started the narcissistic abuse side of my business. Okay. So I call myself a narcissistic abuse, trauma, and toxic relationship coach.
That reaction is, it's really good evidence about just how prevalent this is and how common it is. And actually that leads me to another question. We're going to get back into the coaching, but Dave, do you think that there's a reason that there's more narcissists today than there were, say, 20 years ago? Or do you think we're just more aware of it and we know how to like spot them now? Like or is it a combo of both?
I think it's a combo of both, but I think it's more about people's awareness, but that awareness can be a bad thing.
Right.
Okay. And then we talked about that earlier too. Like it's so easy just for someone to say, they're a narcissist, get them out of here.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's not how it works. Okay. That's not, if that was how life worked, anyone could just walk around throwing around the term. It's a very overused in a negative way term. And it gives the actual narcissists themselves something to hide behind. All right. And that's a really bad thing for a narcissist to be able to do with hide. Okay. But before we even get back to the coaching, yeah, I mean, it's totally seen the way it's seen now. But man, let me tell you something. A narcissist that walks into a therapist's office and they say to themselves, well, you know what? I told my wife, I told my husband, I told my boss when we were looked at, let me walk in and say I'm bipolar. Okay. I don't want to admit that I'm a narcissist. I know I am. I don't want to admit that. I'm going to walk in and I'm going to say, I'm manic depressive, I'm bipolar. I need a certain type of medication to help me even out. Okay. So they take that and it changes the pathways of their brain. It changes the chemical makeup of their brain. But you know what it doesn't do? It doesn't stop them from being a narcissist. What it actually does is teaches them how to narcissist with a smile on their face. Okay? Because they're taking this mood disorder medication to make them happier and to make them more stable. So all they do is change the way they narcissist towards people.
Yeah.
And they do it with a smile on their face.
So like you said something really interesting about, like they know they're a narcissist. Do most narcissists know that they're a narcissist? Like, do they know that? They do, eh?
They know they have the traits. They know they carry the tendencies. They will never admit that they are one, but they know it. They know there's things they need to change about them, but they refuse to look in the mirror and change.
Yeah. It's really interesting, right? Like there's and I'm guessing you've read it, but one of my all-time favorite books is a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And it talks about, fixed mindset versus growth mindset.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really talk about narcissists very much in that book, but like after reading it and then after understanding more about narcissists, is it possible for a narcissist to have a growth mindset? Like, can those two things coexist? Or are they almost exclusively fixed? I think they have to be.
I love the question.
Yeah.
Okay. They're fixed. Their mindsets are fixed. 100%.
Like hyper fixed, right?
But the beautiful thing about where a lot of people go wrong with pagan people as a narcissist is there's somebody that has narcissistic tendencies.
Right.
Okay. That's someone that spent a lot of time with a narcissist and just developed the traits from the narcissist that are bad.
Sure. Pick it up by osmosis. Yeah.
Yeah. But they can change.
Sure. Yeah.
Because those tendencies are not built into their being. Okay. An actual narcissist is embedded in them. Somebody with narcissistic tendencies is not embedded in them. So they can have a growth mindset. And they're the ones. Okay. So remember before he said to me that you called your life coach. Am I a narcissist? And if so, can I change that? That's what someone with narcissistic tendencies can do. They can say, you know what? I've been with my dad for the last 17 years and he's a narcissist. I see some of him in me. I want to get rid of that.
Right.
That you can have a growth mindset when you have tendencies. When you're a narcissist,
and there's a difference between having narcissistic tendencies and being a narcissist. Like those aren't
huge difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
It, like almost everybody would have a few narcissistic tendencies.
Everybody can have some.
Piece of it. Yeah.
You know, I'm an extremely confident person.
Right.
I borderline my cocky and confidence next to each other because I am who I am. I know what I know, and I can speak to back it up. Okay? A lot of people can look at me if they didn't know what I did and say, you're kind of narcissistic. Oh, no, I'm just extremely confident in what I'm saying. And I'm confident in the way I carry myself. I'm confident in what I do working. But I am humble enough to know that if you tell me something different and I like it better, I'm going to use your tactic. You know, just because I'm the coach doesn't mean I'm not going to listen to you. Right? So yeah, fixed mindset, definite narcissistic tendencies, you can get a growth mindset.
And there also seems to be, Dave, like, you know, we mentioned Justin Trudeau earlier. I actually posted something in my story on Instagram where I found this article. I used to work with a guy. It's funny, I actually saw him at the gym this morning. I used to work with a guy who, like, I didn't even know what a sociopath was until started working with him. And like, then once you look at the definition, it's like check. And I posted something the other day on one of my stories about the 15 most common traits of a sociopath. And you read it, and because I was doing it about Justin Trudeau, and it is like he was 15 for 15, like to a T, like every single box checked. And I think most people, like anybody who's spent any time looking at Trudeau, like they know he's a narcissist too. Is it a common thing to have, like if you've got one personality disorder like narcissism, is it common for you to have others like, you know, being a sociopath or bipolar or what's borderline personality disorder? Like that's something that sort of I think sort of tends to go hand in hand. Is there a like a link to those, and is there a reason that you think that if you're one, you might have a couple of these disorders?
Is there a link to it? Yes.
But I said bipolar. I don't believe bipolar is actually a personality disorder. It's a
no. I don't believe narcissistic abuse is a personality. I don't believe narcissistic personality disorder is a personality disorder.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I don't.
Oh, wow. Why not?
If you look at the DSM-4, but I know we're getting off topic again. Yeah, if you look at the DSM-4 under a disorder, it's something you can go to the doctor for and get medication and change.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
that's the way I look at it.
Sure.
Okay. When I see the word narcissistic personality disorder, I don't see, like, if you're schizophrenic, that's in the DSM-4. You can go to the doctor, get put on a medication, and help your schizophrenia. If you're bipolar, you can go to the doctor, get put on medication, and help your bipolar. If you're a narcissistic personality disorder, you can't go to the doctor, get put on medication, and help that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why people say there's no cure for it, right? Because in order to, like, you can't take, you know, a pill to cure it. And like, it's not like you can't go get some Ozempic and, you know, lose some weight. Like, you know, there's no cheat form for this. And then there's also their fixed mindset, so they won't go do the work to get it done. So that's why, like, it's extremely, extremely rare for a narcissist to change, because A, they're not willing to, and B, there's no quick fix cure for them.
True, 100%. And that's why a lot of them that do go to the doctor or do go to a therapist, because mom, dad, brother, sister, boss, wife, husband are harping down their necks, they'll go and say there's something else wrong with it.
Yeah.
See,
Right.
I'm not narcissistic. I'm bipolar.
Right. Not my fault.
Yeah, not my fault.
Yeah.
So they gave me this mood stabilizer. So now I can be really extremely damaging to you. Why I can smile
With a smile on my face. Yeah.
and then I can look like I'm being a loving husband or wife when actually I'm just destroying you even harder than I ever have been before.
Right. Oh God.
It's awful.
It's awful. Yeah. Have they ever figured out like what causes this? Like what causes someone to become a narcissist? Is it the way that they were raised? Is it nature? Is it nurture? Like what causes it? Does anybody know?
A lot of people connected to the way you grew up. A lot of people connected to the way you were raised.
And what are the things like as parents? Because if you're listening to this and you don't have any, experience with this stuff, but you might be thinking, well, shit, like I'm raising my kids right now and I don't want them to grow up and be like this. So like, are there certain things when you're raising your kids that will reduce the chances of raising a narcissist?
I think so. Have them take responsibility for their shit when they're wrong. Okay. Don't coddle them.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't bail them out of every negative situation they might be and let them go through some hard stuff.
Let them go through some shit. Yeah.
Okay. Because you don't want them to have that sense of entitlement because that's what a narcissist has.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a really good point, Dave.
So if you sit there looking at, like I was given the silver spoon my whole entire life because I never got in trouble because mommy and daddy always got me out of it.
Yeah.
You're learning a narcissistic trait right there. And that's one of the key ones.
As you say that alone, I mean, just think about the way that think about the way that people are being raised, particularly now, right? Like, everything from, we're not keeping score in little Timmy's soccer game because we can't, like all those things. Like it's really, and I had never connected until you just said it right now, but it's actually really interesting because so much of the problems that we're having now and just in society is you've got this whole, couple generations of kids that grew up being protected and sheltered from any adversity.
Yeah.
And, being told that, we can't fail you and you can't do this. And we, like and you rob these kids of their ability to overcome adversity. And as you say that, that would certainly connect the dots in terms of, why is this becoming more common today? So like, I think you're right. Like when you said that it's a combo of it's happening more frequently and we're more aware of it, based on what you just said, I think that makes absolute perfect sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's not so much as, okay, I watched my dad do this my whole entire life. So I started doing this because my dad did it. It worked for my dad, so it's going to work for me. But I have to tweak this to perfect the way I want a narcissist.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I don't like my dad. He's a jerk.
Right.
But I want to carry the same traits because he always got what he wanted.
Yeah.
All right, so I got to change these a little bit. In my eyes, if you're raised by a narcissist, and you weren't one yourself, you would still have the signs to show the tendencies. Okay. So I don't necessarily think it's the way you're raised. Okay. I do think it's how much your parents let you get away with and how much they step in to stop you from getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. But I also think it's your own chemical makeup that you have inside your body, whether you're going to follow down this path of life or not.
Sure.
Okay. There's many people out there that were treated like shit as a child that aren't narcissists.
No, for sure. Yeah.
There's many people that had a silver spoon in their mouth as a child that aren't narcissists.
Yeah.
Because somewhere along the way they woke up and said, I don't want to be like that no more. And they actually listened to themselves. So in my eyes, you can't really blame one or the other. You have to look at everything. Right? You have to look at all of it in one big sphere that you have in front of you and say, it could have been that, it could have been that, it could have been that. It was definitely that. That definitely added to it, and now I'm here.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes perfect
sense. Listen, we all did dumb things when we were kids, right?
I hope so. Yeah.
And our parents did help us out with some of the dumb things that we did, right? So so we didn't get a dumber thing thrown on top of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My mom did that a lot for me. Okay. She got me out of a lot of stupid shit that I did when I was younger.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't turn into a narcissist because she got me out of it. Okay. Because she was a wonderful woman. And she didn't raise me that way. She was just like, you know what? I believe you getting in this much trouble, but not this much trouble. You know what I mean? So, and my dad was the same way. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that's really all in the way you take it as a young adult growing up.
Right. Dave, let's get back to your coaching for a minute.
Yes.
Because, I know that you, like, part of what makes you so effective is that you've walked in the shoes of the person who you're trying to help. So it must be really, really encouraging for them, because they can look at you and go, well, shit, like, he got through it. Maybe I can too. Right. But it's also got to be really hard on you, because, when you're going through that, you must be opening up some old wounds every time you're talking to people. Talk about, let's just rapid fire a few questions. So if somebody signs up with you, how long are you typically working with them before, they're through it and they're, how long does it usually take?
I do my coaching in 3 month, 6 month, 9 month, or year blocks. I will not work with anyone under 3 months.
Okay.
And the reason is I am just starting to get to know you in the first 3 months to know exactly how we need to tackle this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So typical, I'm going to be honest, most of my clients are 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
Okay. Most of them will leave for 3 months and come back.
Right.
Okay. And it's not because I didn't do an effective job. It's not that they didn't learn what they wanted to learn. They want to go next level. Because they realized those 6 to 9 months that we spent, they were on top of the world. Removing, releasing, rebuilding, transforming, seeing life totally differently. And yes, it's sustainable for them to stay that way. But they realized with my guidance, okay, I might not be their narcissistic abuse coach forever, but they want me on their side to make sure that they're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. It's like almost like anybody who's on a trajectory of growth, there's going to be, times where you're growing like this, and sometimes you're going to plateau. And those plateaus can be really frustrating, because, you're doing all the right things. You're doing all the things that got you to that next level. But then you need to do something new. And so you need a little more guidance. You need a Sherpa to help you get up that next level of the mountain. Right. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
I also have this portion of my coaching that I call rapid growth coaching. Okay. That's when I coach you twice a week.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I coach you twice a week, and I also send you self-guided work in between. Okay. Right. And the reason I do that is one session, we focus on the narcissist.
Yeah.
One session, we focus on what's going on with you. Okay. That really helps them actually remove their trauma faster.
Right.
Okay. Because you're focusing on what they did, the emotional pain they caused, what we're looking at, how we're going to release it. And then we're also, so what's going on with you, Adam? Oh man, just started this, just started that. So it keeps you excited and engaged. You know what I mean?
And then, but probably seeing results, which is also exciting.
Seeing fantastic results. Okay. Yeah. I know I'm not the best coach, but I know I'm a very effective coach.
Right.
Okay. And the reason I'm effective, and the reason people see a lot of great results with me, and the reason I'm able to close a lot of coaching calls that I have, is because I go into their trauma with them, and I tell them this from day one. Okay. You are not going to get through this unless I can see where you're coming from. Okay. So back to what you said before, I must bring up some old wounds. It doesn't bring up old wounds. Okay. Because I am fully healed.
Right. You've been through it.
But if I didn't have the gym 7 days a week, if I didn't run 3 to 5 times a week, if I didn't take my time for me every day, I could see it bringing up old wounds. Okay. But like I say to people all the time in my stories and my workout videos, like movement is one of the best things you can do to remove trauma. Okay. I'm also saying movement is one of the best things for me to not go back into my trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. It's critical. Okay? It's critical. Yeah.
I'm extremely transparent. I'm extremely forthcoming. I speak it like it is.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give someone advice that I wouldn't do. Okay, in any way, shape, or form. Well, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, why don't you do this? Well, did you do that during your healing journey? No, I didn't. But I think it might be effective for you. No, I'm going to give you exactly what I did, because what I did worked.
Yeah.
What I did worked.
Yeah.
So that the rapid growth part of it, it really just gives you a 2-step process to your healing. Do you heal any faster? Yeah.
Right.
Do we coach any less? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Because of the results people see, they really just enjoy the process of it, just want to keep going and add this to other aspects of their life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's just brilliant, Dave. And it's
I do something called the RTT method, which is the RTT method is remove, release, and thrive. Okay. So we're removing your trauma, we're releasing your emotional pain, and we're transforming and thriving your life again. Okay. That journey can take as long as it takes. I can't give you a time frame. I'm going to say 3 months, but I'm going to tell you in the first call we have, this might take 6, it might take 9, it might take 2 years.
Yeah.
If you're willing to be in on the journey, we're going to be all in.
Yeah. Nobody heals or grows at, the same pace. Everybody's different. Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting, Dave. Like the very first episode that I did, I just sort of shared my story. It was the first episode of the Army of Great Men. Yeah. And I talked about the analogy of climbing a mountain. And I talked about how, like the reason that people can climb mountains is because somebody else did it first.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason. Right.
Absolutely.
And when you're in the ditch, right, you've just got out of this relationship, you're right in the ditch. And then someone says, yeah, you're going to climb that mountain. And you're like, I'm not going to climb that mountain. I'm in the ditch. Like, how am I going to climb that mountain? But then when you've got that Sherpa, that guide, you don't even think of it as climbing a mountain. All you do is think of it as following in the footsteps of somebody else who's already been there, because they've already charted the path up that mountain. And then the next thing you know, you're on top of it and you're going, holy shit, I climbed a mountain. Right. And that's what you do for people every day. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful because you did it. You climbed the mountain and now you're helping people chart their path up there, and you're standing right beside them when they go. It's beautiful. Anyway, yeah, but just having the ability to chart that course it's everything, right? It's everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Dave, this was such a great conversation.
It really was.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I hope we can do it again.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean this episode, it's going to be the one that's released just before Christmas. And so to you and to everybody listening, I hope you guys have an awesome Christmas and full of love and happiness and all the good stuff. And I think 2025 is going to be a really good year for a lot of people. And
2025 is going to be a great year.
Yeah.
Can I add one more thing?
Absolutely. I'd be happy.
For those of you out there that are in these narcissistic and toxic relationships during this 2024 Christmas.
Yeah.
Just take a deep breath. They're going to do all they can to ruin it, as you know.
Yeah.
Okay. You need to get through this holiday season and then really take a look at how you want to live your life for you.
Yeah. Reset.
Definitely.
Reset and take a breath. Yeah. I love it.
Definitely.
Dave, where do people find you on Instagram, or if they want to reach out to you for coaching, how do they get you?
Yes, absolutely. So on Instagram and on TikTok, I am at Dave Morgan Coaching.
There you go.
On Facebook, I am just my name, Dave Morgan.
Okay.
My website, all my other links are being updated and will be reintroduced soon. So probably by the next time we talk, and next time we have a conversation and do one of these episodes, I'll have everything up and ready to go.
Perfect. Awesome. Kate, that's great. And for those listening to this show for the first time, you can find me, Army of Great Men. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all over the place. And if this stuff resonates with you, please don't tell me, tell your friends, share it around.
Yeah.
Great. Dave, this is awesome. Thanks, man. And
awesome.
have a great holiday season. Thanks, brother.
Everybody, you too.
Take care. You too.